Hello, this is the last video of the walkthrough. Over here we are going to take a look at the face handler game object, which is an invisible object. Now keep this in mind that the node handler is actually going to, each and every node is going to call this check nodes custom event, which is being passed to face 1. And if I go ahead and I take a look at the object face 1 is actually the face handler. The face handler is this object over here. The face handler has a flow machine and a face handler script. If you go over here, faces in scene is an object which is basically a list of faces that is in the screen. The squares that you see in the screen are the faces, and this invisible face handler object is passing all of the faces in the scene into a list. It is also passing all of the it is also taking all of the connectors, and it is passing the check connection custom event to run the check connection function that I talked about in the previous video. So over here we have the connections in space, which is basically the game objects, find game objects with tag connector, and we are basically going to pass the we are going to take all of the connections in space, which is the get variable connectors in space. Connectors in scene, which is over here. The objects are over here. This is the list for faces in scene, and this is the list for the connectors in scene. Now I've passed them manually, but they can also be passed in this way. But I've done it both ways so that it can easily be done. So keep this thing in mind. Whenever you add another face or another connector, and another thing too, the face has an edge game object, which when turned on is going to look like this. The color is actually, there is no color on the edge, because that'll be passed once the connection is made between all of the connectors. Once the connection is made, then only it'll turn on and it'll show a particular color based on which player actually won. So the face has an edge. Please do keep in mind that the face needs to be in between 4 nodes. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 connectors, and you have a face right in between them. The face is actually going to consider the connectors. It's not going to take a look at the nodes, because it's concerned with the color that the node actually has. It is concerned with the color that the connector actually has, not the node. I apologize. The connector, if it has a red color, when the face is going to turn the edge on, it's also going to be a red color. So it's concerned with what the connector's color is. So that's the reason why it's directly in the middle of all of these 4 connectors and 4 nodes. We're going to take a look at the face handler, which is basically being called every single time a node enters the isLock state for all characters. It runs both on the local player as well as the foreign player. Once this is done, the connectors and the node functions will be called, as well as the face functions will be called. If I go over to the face script, you'll see here that this is actually checking the nearby nodes. This is basically the object variable. However, this nodes, nearby nodes, is actually the connectors. If you take a look at over here, the list, which is over here, this is actually it's not going to take the nodes, it is going to take the connectors. So when this start function check adjacent nodes is going to run, it's actually going to ignore the nodes, and it's going to pass the connectors after it draws an overlap sphere. The overlap sphere that is going to be drawn by the function is going to overlap only with the connectors, not the nodes. So this list on runtime will be filled with the connectors. In this particular scenario, this face has got 4 connectors adjacent to it. So the overlap sphere which is going to be drawn is going to actually get the adjacent connectors, and it's going to pass those connectors into the list which you see over here. The check nodes custom event is going to be called every single time the a node enters the is locked state. So over here we have got nearby nodes, which is basically nearby connectors. I just didn't name it. This is, you can assume that this is nearby connectors. It's going to check whether the connection has been established. If it has been established, which is basically when a state for each connector, when this has been established, when this is actually true, and the set belongs to string is actually equal to each other, which basically means that if get belongs to or belongs to string is player 1 or it's player 2, then only these functions will run. So they'll run when the connection is established and when the belongs to string is equal. So it will only run for player 2 or player 1. It will not run if the connectors belong to a different player. It will only run when the player and the connection established is the same. So over here, if all of these conditions are met, it means a player has won. We are going to call the script, which is actually handle connector face material, which is basically, like I said, changing the color of the edge, and then it's just displaying the edge, and after that we are just going to display the game over. And the game over functions are being handled in a separate script. So over here we have got this face material. We are changing the face material, and over here we are calling the instance UI game dot set active. So over here we've got the face handler script, which is basically the script that is attached to the face handler, and if you take a look at it, it's just holding the UI game, the UI game complete, and UI game complete text. It'll be different for the foreign player and the local player. So if the foreign player has won, then the local player will actually see the game over text or the game lose screen, and the foreign player will actually see the game win screen, and the functions which are going to run are going to actually determine whether or not the player has won or the player has lost. If the player has lost, then the player press value will be set based on whether the player has lost or the player has won. So if we take a look at this script, which is called the node face handler handle connector face material script, which is over here, if we go over to handle face material, sorry, I have to get the here it is. So over here you can see if the winner is 2, then we're going to run these statements. If the winner is 1, we'll be running these statements. So it's different for which player has won. You can see on game complete, this is the function that is called once we have a winner, and all of this is called. Over here we've got the handle connector face material. So here we are handling the connector, and then we are actually going to run this function on game complete for the local player only. So over here we've all got all of these functions. So that's it. That is basically how this game is being handled. It's a good idea to actually go over all of this on your own. It's been commented, so if you have any questions, do let me know. And I'm actually sending you the source code as well as all of these videos. And I really enjoyed working on this game. It was a good challenge, and it was also quite rewarding. So thank you, and God bless.